Entering the atmosphere in T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri. Alongside Doominal Crossing, Dak has got the week off. Happy New Year everybody! Welcome to 2024. This is the 4th year of this podcast, if you can believe it. Wow, feels surreal saying that. 4 years of a weekly Metroid show, but somehow we made it. Doom, what's going on? How was your New Year?
Pretty good. Have a little bit of a headache going on right now, but nothing that's stopping me from coming on the podcast today. When you mentioned this on, all right, go on.
Maybe you should clarify what kind of headache that you have.
Not a hangover headache, just a
Yes.
normal person headache.
Yeah.
No, I was actually just about to get into it. We talked about this on our great Metroid area ranking episode. I actually did some some New Year's Eve shenanigans on the 30th. Since most of my friends were working on Monday. So that has already transpired and taken place long ago now.
Right.
By long ago, I mean 2 days ago. So yeah, no hangover headache, just a good old-fashioned normie headache.
Yeah, it was really crazy last night, actually. So everybody that doesn't know, like, I live in Calgary, which is in Canada. And so, as you'd think, right, like December 31st, it's probably pretty cold. It was a gorgeous day outside, and it started raining at like close to midnight, actually. We still got fireworks and everything like that, but it was pouring rain, which I don't think I've ever seen in December before. If I have, I cannot remember it. So yeah, it was a weird sight to behold as we rung in 2024 last night. But we had a good night. It was we're old. I'm old. It's I just stayed in and went to bed shortly after midnight, and didn't do anything too outrageous or anything like that. Although I picked up a Zelda puzzle, and I think I'm going to start to put that together. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the first little bit of 2024 here. But yeah, as it is when the calendars flip, we thought that it would be a really good time for reflection and observation. Reflection, of course, into the year that was for 2023, and a look forward to potentially what we could be seeing from Metroid in the year 2024. Before we get there, actually, I just want to touch on something really quickly. A couple things, actually. I'm going to do some plugging here, so everybody bear with me. First of all, Doom, you beat me to it, actually. You and I got together and recorded we snuck this episode into 2023, actually, before it ended. We recorded an episode of the Great Metroid Area Ranking. Tell everybody kind of how that was, and if that was maybe less painful than the first time that you came on the show.
I mean, less painful for us. Probably, I'm sure the viewers absolutely love that first episode, just us going at each other's throats. But yeah, this one was a lot more chill and amicable. We pretty much agreed on most of our picks, I feel like.
Yeah.
There wasn't really much in the area of like arguments. It was more just kind of...
I just want to clarify, by the way, I loved the first episode because and you hated it because it was like you couldn't move it. It being an area that we disagreed.
Yeah. Well, more specifically, it was more specifically, I was prepared going in that I knew like Meridia was gonna, Andy was just gonna like be all over that, and I was like, okay, I don't get it, but whatever. He loves Meridia. We'll disagree on that. No, but there was another area that like I thought for sure was like going to be like our number one pick, because it's like obviously like that one, and it ended up going near the bottom of the list, and I was just
and
like,
it's still there.
I was just like, am I living in Bizarro world? What is going on right now? But
oh, no.
But no, did not happen this episode. Yeah, pretty much all agreed on all of our stuff. We even were able to like remind each other of like different aspects from other areas that like we totally forgot to cover. So like that was really cool as well.
And I actually so during the Great Metroid Area Ranking, we were discussing the Celestial Archives from Metroid Prime Hunters, and I just want to make an apology actually on the show right now, because during our ranking, I was like, the music is okay, it's just okay, like it's okay, and so I was downloading the music after the fact, right, so like put into the show, And I was kind of like doing a little bit of this, and then I started moving a little bit more, and I was like, you know what? This is kind of groovy. I need to make a retraction like right now.
It's a really, I think it's such an underrated soundtrack, and it's so weird because at first glance it doesn't feel Metroid. Like when you think of Metroid, you don't think of like, bass guitars and syncopated percussion and stuff like that's not Metroid. But like they, Lord Schwedler and James Phillips, and they found a way to take that and like put just enough of like those Metroid elements into it to make it work, which I think it's super fascinating.
It was a good track, so I did have to make a retraction there. The Great Metroid Area Ranking is rolling along, and I think like the first couple episodes we were still kind of figuring out like what we wanted it to be, and now I think it's like really in its peak. So if anyone out there is interested in taking your love of Omega Metroid to the next level, check out our Patreon because we've got some good stuff over there. And as well as, I don't have an exact date yet, but you will see an announcement going up shortly about what we are planning to do for our 4th year anniversary, our big 300 episode. Although technically it's going to fall on, let me walk that back. Our 200th episode, which is technically going to fall on episode 199. And I get confused because the Zelda cast is exactly 100 episodes ahead of Omega Metroid. So sometimes there's a little bit of confusion on my part. But we're back. We're doing another crossover episode, the rubber match for all the marbles, the last time ever. It's going to be Omega Metroid versus the Zelda cast in Metroid and Zelda trivia. Doom, do you feel any pressure?
Let's be real. I was about to say, let's be real. It's Doom Animal Crossing versus Zelda cast. Because I'm sorry, no offense, Dak, but your trivia skills.
He's not that great at trivia.
They are not. Yeah, he's not. And listen, I don't want to throw mud at my fellow co-host. I'm just telling the truth, and I think Dak would agree with me.
I think he'd be the first person to say that he's not good at trivia. To be fair, but yeah. So we have a special gimmick. I don't know if I want to say it right away before I finalize everything, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. It's different from the trivia that we've done in the past. And we're going to have a great time. It's going to be a fun show. So details on that are going to be coming very soon. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. And I think that's all I got to plug. So without further ado, actually, there's one more thing. On the Great Metroid Area Ranking, Doom was talking about his game of the year. And I was kind of sitting there, and he hadn't revealed what was number 1 yet. And I was kind of sitting there, and I was like, I wonder if it could be this game. And he kind of no-sold it. He didn't say anything. And I was like, I guessed right, didn't I? And lo and behold, your game of the year is
RoboCop Rogue City. What a fantastic game. Not something you're typically going to hear in the game of the year conversation. But man, this game, just for me on a personal level, it just resonated with me in all the right ways. Certainly not a perfect game by any means. And I talk about that in my massive thread. I feel like in particular, I think the story, while it's good, it's not a bad story by any means. I do think it could have gone a little bit further, but man, the atmosphere, the love and respect, and the authenticity that Teon put into like the original RoboCop universe here. Visually, the game looks incredible. The gunplay is set. They took a way to make the slow RoboCop movement. And they found a way to make that into satisfying gunplay, which, like, I like fast gunplay. One of my biggest criticisms with Federation Forces, the game is too slow, it feels clunky. No, Teon, though, they found a way to make it work, and it's killer. The sound design, oh my god. Andy, do you know what I love in sound design? Good headshot sound effects. There's nothing more satisfying than getting a headshot and just hearing a nice, satisfying, crunchy pop. And my god, Teon, they got one of the best ones that I've heard, man. And it's just such a fun game from start to finish. And if you are a PC gamer, you can download the demo for free on Steam right now. I hope someday they put it on consoles so more people can try it out. But if you do have a PC, try out the demo and consider playing the game, because it's my highest recommendation of the year, aside from Metroid Prime Remastered.
I haven't played this game, but I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I'm a RoboCop fan, and I think I'm probably going to give it a go. And you kind of said something that, I don't know, like, I feel like I'm kind of in a state with my games, which is almost like with my movies too, where like, everything is almost just like a bit too polished. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't mind like a game that has like some chunks or some things that aren't quite smoothed over, as long as like the heart's there, you know. And it seems like the heart is there in this game. So actually, I
totally agree. Yeah,
I was looking forward to playing this if and when it comes to consoles, and I hope that it does.
Well, so the full game is on consoles. It's just the demo that's exclusive to PC.
Oh, so, sorry. Let me. It's not on Switch though, right?
No, it's not on Switch.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys now that's just like, if it's not on Switch, I can't play it, because I just like.
Yeah.
Although I am gonna make an exception. I'm gonna fire up my PS4 and play Horizon Forbidden West because I'm super stoked about that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. While we're I promise we're gonna get to Metroid. But while we're talking about, I guess, our games of the year and stuff like that, I know I said it a bunch on the show, but again, I just want to shout out Sea of Stars. That's my game of the year for this year. And I haven't played a couple other games, that big releases that came out, but it just, what an amazing RPG. It's simple. It has it's just like, it has a nice balance between like nostalgia but like moving a genre forward, and like being simple yet complex. It's really, really well done. The story's fantastic. The music is amazing, and it's just like, I was gonna say if you're of a certain age you'll love it, and I think that that's true, but I think that anybody of any age would probably love this game just because it's done so well. Again, it's not a perfect game, but it's brimming with heart, and that is what kind of does it for me. So yeah, Sea of Stars, definitely recommend everybody check it out. And I mean, hey, go play RoboCop 2, and go play Pikmin 4. Number 2 on both of our Game of the Year list.
Yeah, Pikmin 4, technically my first Pikmin game ever, even though I did play the Pikmin 3 Deluxe demo. But wow, Pikmin 4 definitely far exceeded my expectations. We already talked about it on the Patreon episode, but man, the Disco Ball boss fight is probably my favorite boss fight of the year. That Amazing. Was just so much fun.
They even snuck in a cheeky Star Wars reference into Pikmin, because they're like, it flies now. And I was just like, oh god. But I think it was making fun of it, so like, we'll allow it. All right, let's talk about Metroid. Let's talk about the year that was in 2023 and the year that is to come in 2024. So really quickly, we'll dive into the year specifically here, but just, we did this on the Zelda cast too, and I asked Allison to like sum up 2023 in like a sentence or two. And I'm gonna ask you to do the same thing as we, before we get into everything that came out. 2023 for Metroid fans. What's your quick review?
It's
Can I give you mine and see if you agree?
I was trying to think of that Dark Knight quote, but I'm probably gonna butcher it. It's the year we deserve, but not the one we needed right now.
You know what? That's actually borderline right. I think with what I have. So I was gonna dumb it down even further and say like, it was really good, but could and perhaps should have been the best year ever for Metroid. Maybe not the best year ever. But like one of it. It was really good, but could and perhaps should have been absolutely amazing. How about that?
Yeah, I think, and obviously, like, let's just address the elephant in the room right now, the Metroid Prime 4 trailer. I think with the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, even if it didn't release this year, I feel like that alone would, like, make this, like, the Metroid year for a lot of people, and I feel like that's definitely kind of the one thing that's, like, on everyone's minds, especially going on to the future. But that being said,
I agree, but I do think there's more.
Yeah, but for me personally, Metroid Prime Remastered was on its own was so strong, and you know, we'll talk about this, but there's also, you know, the NSO stuff as well. But I think Metroid Prime Remastered, for me personally, granted it's my favorite game of all time, so definitely major bias in that corner. But I feel like that showing was so strong enough on its own that it was, you know, it was able to make up for that lack of Prime 4 for me personally.
Yeah, I agree. So let's start at the top. As you correctly pointed, this is this is the year of Metroid Prime Remastered, right? Like that was the game, and it was an absolutely incredible moment during that February Direct when Metroid Prime Remastered is announced. It's the best looking Nintendo game that they've ever made, right? Like there's no other Nintendo game that looks better than this.
I would say it's between Prime Remastered and Luigi's Mansion 3. My personal opinion,
I think
Luigi's
Remastered, man.
I think Luigi's Mansion 3 looks the best in screenshots. I think Prime Remastered looks the best in motion. That's my opinion. But either way, point is, incredible.
One of the best looking games they've ever made,
yeah.
if not the best. And I would say it's the best. The shadow drop for that day was super hype, and the price point was strange, right? Like I was kind of saying on the Zelda cast, because Nintendo announced that Tears of the Kingdom was going to be $10 extra, and I was shell shocked by that because I was like, we're 6 years into the Switch's lifespan now. Like, why change your pricing model now? And then they did it again for Metroid Prime Remastered, which just seemed so bizarre, but in a great way. So yeah, I mean, like that was the big thing for the year. And we'd kind of heard that there might have been this game sitting and just waiting and biding its time. And eventually it was released, and it wasn't released in like the complete, like I think like after the summer, like in the springtime, or like in the fall time rather, the Switch was like really like running on fumes, at least for me, particularly after Mario Wonder came out. And going into 2024, this thing looks, I mean, it looks like it's just sucking on air, but we'll get there. But like, so my point is that Prime Remaster came out when like Switch was still like buzzing and still, you know what I mean, like kind of at the height of its game, which was a great thing to see. And in this Direct in particular, I think so many people were watching because everyone is looking for Tears of the Kingdom and whatnot. So a lot of people got the opportunity to see Prime Remastered. Now, this wasn't the only thing that was announced. I believe it was at the same Direct they announced the Game Boy.
It was literally right before they announced Prime Remastered.
That's right, because somebody clipped it on Twitch. Yeah, so they were showing the new Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance emulators for NSO, and of course, one of the very first games that you see is Metroid 2: Samus Returns and Metroid Fusion, both of which were on NSO. I think within like a month of the announcement, which was also incredible.
Yeah, Metroid 2 launched, then Fusion came out like the following month, I believe.
I want to say it was the first week of March, so not that long after, which was sweet because now you have the full Metroids 1 to 5 on Nintendo Switch available for people to play and for people to get into. Granted, you don't have the ideal versions of Metroids 1 and 2, but you still have those versions anyway. So it's like people can get into the series and really explore the series, and I think that all that was super, super positive. I do, we'll talk about this. I do think that they could have been better, but I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Any year that has a new Metroid game, even if it's a port, that's a good year for Metroid.
Yeah, and it was a hell of a lot more than just your standard port.
Yeah,
it was probably the best possible kind of re-release you could ask for. So,
well,
I mean, I know you would have wanted the trilogy. I mean, like,
no, not even that. I feel like I would have wanted a little bit more, like kind of like Samus Returns it. You know what I mean? Change some things up. Zero Mission it. Well, obviously, they weren't going to do that for this game, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want them to remake that game because like at that point, it's like because like Metroid 2, like you need to remake that. Metroid NES, even if you enjoy those games, and I really enjoy Metroid 2, the original, but like you got to remake those games. Metroid Prime, that's like. That's like a game you just add little quality of life stuff. That's not something you rebuild from the ground up.
Yeah, which that's my favorite style of remake is that other one. But I mean, this game clearly doesn't need that. But they did rebuild the textures from the ground up. This game looks absolutely gorgeous. Quality of life improvements. I mean, you name it. You've got multiple ways to play this game. It plays the way that I feel it should after like all this time, which is funny because I played Metroid Prime 2 on tank controls and then Metroid Prime 3 with the Wiimote. So like I literally played Metroid Prime every single way that you could this year, and I thought that Prime Remastered was just so smooth and so nice, and actually I don't know about you, but it actually did take me a little while to adjust to the dual analog because I was so used to like the other like ways to play it where it was weird because like dual analog is all I ever play other games now, but like for this game it almost took me a second to click into gear, you know?
That definitely makes sense. I can see that. For me, I just I tweaked a couple of the button settings, which by the way, custom controls in a
Yeah, that
Nintendo
too.
game, accessibility options in a Nintendo game in 2023. What universe is this? But I digress. But yeah, I did a couple of button changes. I think I swapped the missile button to I think the right bumper, but otherwise once I did that, everything like finally started to click for me.
Yeah, so I mean, this game was amazing. We knew it would be amazing. Metroid Prime is an amazing game, even 20 some years after its release, right? So like, no surprises there. But I was surprised how gorgeous it looked, and there were several moments where you came in and it was just like, wow, like that Ridley scene just looks so much better in Phendrana. Or, I mean, we talked about Phase on Mines, like what a glow up Phase on Mines got. I think of every area in the game, we knew Talon was going to look fantastic. We knew Phendrana was going to look fantastic. Chozo Riz, but like Phase on Mines it looked awesome. And I don't know that it really does in the initial version. It's a little bit muted, a little bit murky. So I mean, so many wicked changes and quality of life upgrades. Yeah, I mean, what a
Even
game.
subtle, even like really subtle changes, like Samus's new running animation during the Metroid Prime fight. Like we both were popping off the first time we saw that, and
Yeah,
just like
that was so
God,
sick.
God, it looks so much better than that wonky GameCube little kind of run that she's doing there.
Yeah, it looks
And then for me,
awesome.
and then for me personally, just having that original soundtrack now preserved in 48 kilohertz high definition is just like incredible. Some of my favorite pieces of music ever written. Now we get to enjoy them at like studio quality. It's just incredible.
Right. Well, so that was, I mean, certainly that was the highlights of the year. And I guess we can go into, let's call that the good, and then we'll do the middle, I guess. I was going to say the bad and the ugly, but I don't think this is ugly. The mid.
Yeah.
Let's call it the mid. So I think the mid was that everybody will, I think people love the shadow drop of Metroid Prime Remastered. I think the mid is that the sales numbers weren't quite as strong as we were hoping. I think that enough time has passed and we were being optimistic, but like, I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like, we were hoping for a little bit more, especially given that price point and stuff like that. I don't know that has it broke 2 million?
No, the last time they showed it, I believe it was
so.
I believe it was 1.3 or 1.4 the last time they did their sales report.
Which, certainly not bad, but also
it's fine. It's fine.
Not, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like,
especially,
it's not like you're gonna brag about it, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I think especially I think the big thing is that like leading up there was like all this stuff that might have hinted towards, something great. Like I remember it was like #1 on the eShop for like almost a month straight, and like
yeah.
And so there was like articles come out like, oh, it's the #2 or #3 best-selling game of this month, in a month where there was like Hogwarts and RE4 remake and like big tentpole releases, and so it was just like, whoa, maybe we're on it. And then it turned out, nah, not so much. It's kind of your standard Metroid sales that you'd come to expect.
Yeah.
And so it's disappointing, but I also think some people were like overreacting. It's like, oh, that's it, Metroid's dead. Everyone, I swear to God, every time there's a Metroid sales report, there's always like a subsection in the community that's just like, oh, Metroid's dead, Metroid's dead. Granted, they keep making games, but no, this time it's dead. It's dead this time. Don't pay attention to like all the other.
Like you can have a Metroid sales figure come out for any game. Like we saw it a bunch with Dread. Dread was like the highest selling Metroid game ever, and people were like, this sucks. Like it should be way more. And you know what? But like there is an argument that maybe that's correct. I don't know.
Even people that I like and respect, but and it's funny because like I'll see because like you look at like the Xenoblade franchise, for example. That's a series I think everyone agrees is like in a very healthy state right now. It has a lot of growth opportunity. It's in a good place right now. That series doesn't sell as much as Metroid.
Nor does Fire Emblem.
What?
Which is the same thing.
No, Fire Emblem sells more than Metroid. Fire Emblem sells more than Metroid.
I don't think it does.
It most certainly does. Three Houses sold 3.5. I believe Awakening on the 3DS sold 3 billion before Dread. It's definitely in that same tier as Metroid, but on average, it does perform a bit better than Metroid.
I I'll trust you on that, but I'm not so sure about that because I think, I mean, listen, if you gathered all the Fire Emblems together and you divvied up their average sale per game, it's lower than Metroid. I'll tell you that for sure.
For sure, but I think if you go post Awaken on the 3DS, once it did become in the state it is, on average, it tends to perform better than Metroid.
Perhaps
that could change with Metroid Prime 4, but in the moment, Fire Emblem it does slightly better on average.
I mean, the point is, and like the point is that there's a lot of similar video game franchises from Nintendo that are doing as well, just as well, slightly worse off than Metroid. So it was. I thought that was like kind of a, like, I don't think that's a bad number for Metroid Prime Remastered. You do wonder if they would have had a more traditional like lead up to Metroid Prime Remastered, if that would have changed anything. And I think the silver lining is too, like, I think when Metroid Prime 4 gets a trailer, I think this game is gonna come like have a second wind. Like I really do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, like, well, let's just get into the bad actually, because this kind of segues right into that. First of all, let's just start off with a bad that I don't think anybody but me really cares about. But man, there was no amiibo for Metroid Prime Remastered. Damn, dude, I wanted like a Meta Ridley amiibo.
Honestly, I was surprised there was no amiibo, because even like Skyward Sword HD got an amiibo. You'd think like Metroid Prime Remastered, where they completely rebuild the visuals, you'd think that would. And I thought that, like, I didn't think we were gonna get a Meta Ridley amiibo, but I thought like, okay, obviously we're gonna get like a Metroid Prime Samus amiibo suit. Like, yeah, it's another Various suit, but like, well, they'll do something at least. But not a huge deal. I'm not like, you know, I'd rather have the Metroid Prime Remastered we got with no amiibo than like a straight port of the original Metroid Prime with an amiibo. So I'll definitely take that. But yeah,
I would have loved like a Meta Ridley amiibo, or like a cool Phazon suit Samus, or, man, you remember the Guardian amiibo from Breath of the Wild? Imagine like a Metroid Prime amiibo like that. God,
that would be sick. Oh my gosh.
Nevertheless, didn't happen, which is fine. Let's talk about the bad, and I think you've already kind of addressed it, but the elephant in the room, the shadow over the entire year, was Metroid Prime 4, and maybe that was like unrealistic, because I think there was a certain point probably before last year began, right? Like where you're just like, this is clearly coming out for the Switch 2. It's not a Switch, and if it is a Switch game, it's coming out for both, right? Like, but it's not like a Switch exclusive. It's a Switch 2 game. I think most people would agree with that. And I think that, like, we were waiting for the Switch 2 reveal. I thought it was going to come this year. I was hoping it would, because I think like you go into 2024 now and Switch is in a rough place. Like, there's nothing except for like the Princess Peach game in Paper Mario. So like that reveal's got to be coming soon, and you got to think when that Switch 2 reveal comes, Metroid Prime 4 isn't far behind, if not at the same presentation. So that I did feel, it almost reminded me of 2021 and 2020 being a Zelda fan, when like all you wanted was Tears of the Kingdom trailers and you didn't get it. So like Link's Awakening came out, is like, yeah, this is cool, but Skyward Sword HD came out, it's like, this is great, but Age of Calamity, you know what I mean? Like, kind of the same thing, where Metroid Prime Remastered comes out, and it's really logical for fans to connect the dots and be like, this comes out first, so maybe Prime 4 is not as far away as we think. And that could still potentially be the case, but it was kind of like I don't want to say a black cloud, but like, it was there. It was... Yeah, Metroid Prime 4's presence was felt largely in this year. And I would argue largely for like Switch owners in general, not even Metroid fans, just kind of being like, what's going on with this game? Like, when are we going to see it? And now I think that game is directly tied to the Switch 2. So now, you know, it's there, and it was there all year. And I think that wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't great. I would have loved to see it. I think it would have been an amazing A+ year if we did see Metroid Prime 4. We didn't, and I understand why, but I don't think they can go another year without showing it.
I mean, it's Nintendo. They absolutely could. We would hate it. Well, and like, we would be...
Of course they could, but I don't think that they...
Yeah.
You know...
I have to imagine... I'm in full agreement with you, though. I have to imagine that, like... And I think that Prime 4 specifically is going to be a graphical showcase title for the Switch 2. Regardless if it's exclusive or cross-gen, I think that they're, unlike, you know, Breath of the Wild, unlike Twilight Princess, I think there are going to be substantial visual improvements to the Switch 2 version, and I think it is going to be a showcase to show just what this
I
hardware
hope
can
so,
do.
man. I hope so. Which
If
begs
they're-
the question.
I have to believe it. If they're waiting, because if it wasn't, then they would show it like they did with Breath of the Wild. They showed it for the Wii U, even though they marketed it as a Switch title. They did show the first gameplay for Wii U. If they're waiting this long to show it for Switch 2, I have to imagine that they're going to showcase this as like, hey, this is what our new console can do.
I hope so. I really do. Which it's like it's been a lot of days since that development was restarted. We're over 1,000 now.
We're approaching the 5th anniversary.
So it like and just like we'll talk about it when we talk about 2024. But I do think that it's coming sooner maybe than people think. But yeah, that was, I think, a little bit of a negative for this year, and maybe it was like fan expectation, but like I don't think it was like unrealistic fan expectation to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think especially after like Prime Remastered, like
Yeah.
I think it wasn't like some crazy fan theory to go like, oh, maybe maybe this means we're going to see something, because that's kind of what they did with Skyward Sword HD. They showed that off first, and then E3 came and they showed the first gameplay of that, even though it wasn't a lot to go off of. That was what they did.
One other thing that I think also kind of just cast a dark shadow over the rest of this year, to a lesser extent, but still an extent nonetheless, was the lack of Metroid Prime 2 and 3, which
yes.
I think, like, listen, two opposing things can be true at the same time. One, I love that we got Metroid Prime Remastered. I love it, and I think it's like the most amazing looking Nintendo game that we've ever seen. But I also believe I much rather would have had Metroid Prime Trilogy. Not like upscale, just maybe HD, right? Like, but not built from the ground up. All the same control options, and to just have those 3 games on the Switch so that everybody can experience them. Because I don't know what the likelihood now of Prime 2 and 3 ever getting like a remake is. Probably still like decent, but, or not a remake, but like an HD port, let's just call it. I mean, probably decent, but like maybe not. I don't know. But I feel like everyone was asking that question. Yeah.
I have to feel like, again, my thoughts. I do think that they're coming eventually, but also, yeah, these games are in a really weird spot right now.
Yeah.
I think they have a couple of good things going for them. One, we've seen the precedent of Nintendo doing something similar with Pikmin 1+2. I think we could easily see something similar towards that.
Yeah.
Towards that. And then also, we've seen Nintendo is really dipping into their GameCube and their Wii libraries in terms of bringing that to the Switch. And so I feel like, these games are, pun absolutely intended, primed, to continue that kind of life cycle for the system. And also next year in particular, I mean, what's the big theme of next year? It's all ports, remakes, and remasters.
Yeah. And like,
so
again,
I feel
it's tied to the Switch 2, which is tied to Metroid Prime 4. So like, all of these things are kind of swimming together in this weird stew. Because like, depending on, I mean, listen, if the Switch 2 is not coming out until November, I think the chances of Metroid Prime 2 and 3 coming to Switch like are drastically increased. Like drastically. Because I mean, like, what the hell else are you going to play on the Switch until September, October, November, right? Like, so I think
it's the summer of Luigi's Mansion 2, baby.
Yeah, and like, I don't know what else. Like Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I mean, you know what? Let's flip back to I don't know if you consider this a positive or maybe it's a mid. You tell me after I'm done laying it out. But like, Luigi's Mansion 2 is a 3DS game. It's coming to the Switch. Maybe just maybe.
I proposed, I proposed this during our post E3 coverage, and I wasn't, and I'm still not fully ready to jump on. I need to see at least one more 3DS remaster or before I do. But
does Mario versus Donkey Kong count? That's kind of close. I guess that's a full ground up remake.
That's a full remake, and that's a GBA game, not a 3DS game. That's different. I do think that might be indicative of the future of the Mario vs. DK series, which I hope, because that original game is kind of a spiritual successor to DK94, which is really good. It's kind of what they did with it afterwards. That's a whole other podcast right there.
I could have swore to God there was another 3DS game. Was it Miitopia? Maybe that was it.
Yeah,
That game.
Yeah, Grezzo did Metopia in 2021, same year as Dread, actually.
Okay.
But I feel like that was also its own thing. I don't feel like that was like tied to like any 3DS remaster initiative. But my
Yeah.
hope is that like it's been a while since we've seen the Wii U ports. Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury, that was 2021, early 2021 in fact. That's the
Hmm.
last one we've seen. We're approaching 3 years now without a Wii U port, and we
I mean,
used
to
to
be
get at least
fair,
one every year.
I think there's like literally nothing else to port. There's like Xenoblade Chronicles
I'm
X. That's it.
I'm waiting for Yoshi's Woolly World, man. I'm waiting. I want a good Yoshi game on the Switch.
Yeah, but
Gosh
that
darn
was
it.
see that's ironic because that was ported to the 3DS. So I
I
wonder.
know. And they added extra content to the 3DS version. So it's like, okay, take that and then port it back to the Switch.
Which is ironic because actually they
Anyways.
kind of did the same thing with Hyrule Warriors because it's a Wii U game, extra
Yeah,
content.
yeah.
So the point is, maybe there could be a chance that Samus Returns comes to the Switch. It's a it's a fool's chance, but a chance nonetheless. I have a pinned message in our Discord from like
deserves
3 years ago saying that this game will be on the Switch. So I hope to God it does.
it deserves to be on Switch, man. I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's just mid news, or maybe it's not news at all, but it's something. But like back to what I would classify the downs in 2023. So I mean, obviously, everything is riding on the Switch 2 right now. Metroid Prime 4 is linked to that. I think the other two Metroid games are linked to that. Metroid Primes 2 and 3. I have another down, and people might say that this is kind of like a spoiled down, and maybe it is. But I was a little bit disappointed that Zero Mission never found its way to NSO this year.
I understand that, but I also disagree. I feel like it makes sense. We'll get into this in 2024 predictions, maybe before we start talking about Prime 4, but I think it makes sense that we didn't see Zero Mission this year because they did a similar thing with Ocarina of Time when the N64 expansion pass came. They did Ocarina of
that's
Time
true.
that launched with the system, and then they waited till the following year to do Majora's Mask, and I think they're going to do something. Well, I guess I'm already going to my prediction. I think we're going to get Zero Mission sometime this year. There's my prediction.
I mean, it's not like it's not a bold prediction necessarily. I think a lot of us. I mean, I would say the same thing, right? Like I'll tell you why I was disappointed. This is a bit selfish, but because I was like, as soon as the announcement that the Game Boy Advance games were coming to NSO, I was like, oh man, I better bust my ass and finish the Zero Mission walkthrough. And so I just went full throttle, finished it in like I think it was fully completed after, I don't know, like a couple weeks after the announcement. You helped me out greatly with that as well. And I was like, all right, wicked. I think we got like the best Zero Mission walkthrough on the internet. And I was waiting for people to come, and I was like, damn it, Zero Mission isn't released yet. Nobody's playing it. Gah.
Well, it's all good. We have
So
the
we have
guide
it ready.
pretty
We
much
do have it
fully.
ready.
We have it pretty much fully complete, and it's like super detailed.
Yeah.
Like I'm really proud of like the work that like all of us contributed to it. Like it is a meaty guide.
While we're patting ourselves on the back, actually, speaking of meat, we got guides for all 3 Metroid Prime games this year too, which is like a lot of work. And granted, they're not like instruction room by room guides, but I don't think they need to be for Metroid Prime games. Those are pretty good at kind of keeping you going. 2D games I find are a little bit more they could be a little bit harder to navigate. So I didn't think that was necessary, but I mean, like we got so much data and screenshots, and
we pumped out 4 guides this year, man. Like that's insane.
and we got like new maps for like AM2R, Samus Returns. I'm working on Samus Returns right now. It's probably going to take a little bit of time, but it's done, or at least the gameplay part of it is done. So that was actually an up for us personally, I think, over on the website. But yeah, like just in terms of like overall, like I think that obviously Metroid Prime Remastered was incredible. Metroid Fusion specifically coming back to NSO was incredible. Metroid 2 was great. The shadow of the Switch 2, which really carries the fate of Metroid Prime 4, Metroid Prime 2 and 3. That's just like such a
Yeah.
I don't know, a cloud over everything that it was hard to really kind of appreciate everything else, at least for me, that you were seeing in 2023. So I don't know. That was kind of my highs, my lows. Did I miss anything? Anything that stuck out to you?
I don't think so. No. I will say like as much as the wait sucks for Switch 2 and Prime 4 and all that. And don't get me wrong, it sucks. Like, I'm not gonna mince words. Like, it is not fun. I will say it is substantially better than the wait between Wii U and Switch. That was actually like one of the worst. That was yeah.
I will say,
and so I am incredibly grateful that at least it's not that bad. It is substantially better than the wait between those.
Tell me if you agree with this, though, because I would agree with you, definitely. But I do think, and this is similar to the wait between GameCube and Wii, like, there was so much mystique and build-up around what the NX is. What is the NX? What is this thing? And, like, what is this new Zelda? Like, it's going to reinvent and it did reinvent the wheel. I do think that was, like, almost lightning in a bottle. A little bit of magic there, which kind of made that wait a little less awful for me personally. Now, that was a bad wait. Like, I mean, no question about it. But, yeah, this one is certainly not that bad, but it is just something that it's like, all right, like, what's next?
It's definitely a little bit different because I think everyone's in agreement. Like, it's probably going to be a more powerful Switch. Like, there isn't really, like, the NX was just like it could literally be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But this time it's just like it's probably going to be a more powerful Switch. Maybe like a 3DS like gimmick where it's there, but I mean,
I think that's a perfect analogy.
It's going to be at the end of the day, it's a more powerful DS.
2DS or DS, not 2DS.
Yeah, DS. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look ahead to 2024, and I mean, I think we're all in agreement here. A couple things that need to happen. Switch 2 is going to get revealed in 2024. It has to happen. I am surprised that they didn't reveal it in 2023. I think I would have. I guess maybe they have some more games in store, or maybe the marketing window is going to be very short. I'm not sure, but I guess now that we're in 2024, we've only got about 6 weeks until the next Direct usually takes place, so maybe we'll find out some more information there. Maybe there is a lot in the tank that we don't know about.
I'm not even sure if we'll get I think we will get a February Direct this year like usual, but what are they going to talk about? Because I don't think they're going to reveal Switch 2 in a February Direct. And so it's like, if you're not going to do,
I could see them skipping a Direct and just doing like a Switch 2 showcase.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe that's the play.
Or maybe like a Direct Mini in February. If they announce a Direct Mini in February, that's like dead giveaway right there. That like, we're on the verge of something.
I mean, there is nothing in 2024 so far. Like, there's the Peach game, there's Luigi's Mansion, there's Paper Mario.
You got another code, Mario versus Donkey Kong.
I mean, like, this is like C tier franchises, and with no disrespect to Princess Peach or Mario versus Donkey Kong, right? And Luigi's Mansion is not a C tier franchise, but I mean, that's a port. Like, there has to be something, and it has to be soon. I think, like, it has to be. So I think that is definitely on the horizon, and I think you're going to see Metroid Prime 4. I think that's when you see it. I think we both agree, like, when you see the Switch 2 for the first time, you probably see Metroid Prime 4 with it.
I don't know if you see it during the same presentation. I certainly hope so, but I think if we see the Switch 2 reveal, I feel like we have to see Prime 4. And
yeah,
I'll also say that for the most part, I've been fairly calm and rational during this whole thing, but if we get a Switch 2 reveal and we still don't see Prime 4 this year, I'm gonna start hitting the alarm bells.
That would be tough.
At that point, like, what the hell's going on, guys? Like, seriously.
So 2024, I think that the Switch 2 is obviously going to come out. I predicted it was going to come out in like the spring, so obviously that's wrong. Or maybe it's not, and Nintendo's just crazy. I don't know, but
Switch 2 Shadow Drop.
Switch. God, can you imagine? That would actually be so sick. I would just like call in sick to work like immediately right then. Like, my
oh my god,
my grandma's in the hospital. I gotta go.
I would hate that. Can you imagine what the bots would be like that day?
That would
oh
be
my
nuts.
God.
Yeah, that would be wild. It'd be like Arnold trying to get Turbo Man. Jeez Louise. But I think the Switch 2 will come out this year. I right? Like, I think it has to.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it has to. Yeah.
This is I don't think is a bold prediction, but it is a prediction for 2024. I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a launch title day one. I think so. Do you agree with that?
I'm not. Maybe I don't know. I could see it as a launch title. I could see it. I think at the very least it's in the launch window. I
Yeah.
think it's in the launch window at the very least. I'm not sure if I would say launch title quite yet though.
I'm not bold enough to say it's like the only game that's a launch title. Like I think maybe you do Metroid and you do like
There's no way it's the only launch title. There has to be something else that has more broad appeal that pairs with it.
yeah, but I think it's a day one like title. I think it's available. I think that Nintendo knows people want it, even if it's like a small section of people. But like they've acknowledged Metroid fans like multiple times, though they didn't have to during the development of this game. So I think it's coming. I really do. And yeah, I other than that, I don't know what to expect from Metroid Prime 4 to be honest. But I think we're gonna get a trailer in the first half of the year.
Well, in terms of like what we want from Prime 4, I may as well spill some of the beans. But throughout January and maybe even into February, we do have some Metroid Prime 4 discussions planned for y'all. Because according to our metrics, y'all really like those Metroid Prime 4 topics, and so do we. So we are more than happy to oblige. But that is all I will say on that for now.
Yeah, like I don't want to talk because I want to milk that content, of course, but I don't want to talk about like Metroid Prime 4 specifically, other than to say I think it's coming this year. I think you could be playing Metroid Prime 4 in 2024. I really think that, and I think you're probably gonna have to buy a new Nintendo Switch console to do that because I don't know. That's a prediction, but I feel less bold about it. I don't know if Metroid Prime 4 is on the Switch, and I think if it is, it's a very much like downgraded version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a prediction.
I'm leaning towards cross-gen, but again, like we know nothing about this game.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to predict anything at this point in time.
That might be my want, sleep like creeping in a bit there to my prediction because like it makes so much logical sense for it to be a cross-gen game, but like I think like you've waited so long for this game, right? Like so long. Like why not just make it the absolute best looking, best running, best everything game that it can be? And I know that there's some people out there that are like, oh, well, Nintendo promised us this game on the Switch. Things change. I'm sorry. Things happen. And
I'm on both sides of the camp because I'm on both sides of the camp in the sense that like I agree. Like if they announce it as a Switch 2 exclusive, I'd be like, okay, yeah, change of plans.
Yeah,
I get it. It's you announced it 7 years ago. This is clearly a much different. We're in a much different era now. It makes sense that stuff happens. Final Fantasy VII Remake was originally announced for PlayStation 3. Didn't come out on the PS3 last time I checked.
That is crazy, by the way. The 2017 is now 7
Last
years old.
Guardian. Last Guardian was announced for the PS3, if I'm remembering correctly, and that became a PS4 game. So hey.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot about that game. Good callback. Okay, I have another prediction because I'm just gonna go. I can't not go all in on this now. So here I go. Samus Returns comes to Switch. Make it happen.
Let's go.
Make it happen.
It's not happening, but let's go.
Don't keep that energy to yourself. It's got to happen.
Not this year. It's definitely not happening this year. But man, do I want it? And again, I'm not even the biggest Samus Returns fans. But like, oh my god, like bring it to Switch, please.
I love Samus Returns. It's such a good game. But I'm also like I'm setting the bar low. Like even if there's like a 3DS like NSO that Samus Returns just sneaks on, I'm like, it came to Switch, yeah, great. Like they don't even have to like re-release it or do anything to it. As long as it just makes its way to Switch, I'm a happy camper. So yeah, I think that is gonna go down in the year 2024. Obviously, Zero Mission. I think it's like a guarantee that it comes to NSO.
And also, and this is more of a Switch 2 prediction, but I think it's relevant here. I do think the Switch 2 is going to be fully backwards compatible with Switch. I don't see why it wouldn't be. Like the only console in recent history that has been backwards compatible is the Wii U to the Switch, and that makes sense because it used a completely different physical format. Everything from the Wii and onwards has been backwards compatible with the previous console. I see absolutely no reason why the Switch 2 wouldn't be.
It would be crazy, right? Like it would be crazy not to have the
and that includes and that includes like the NSO stuff. I do think that they're actually going to take advantage of the account system so that you can transfer like all of that stuff over as well.
I 100% agree. I think it's really going to be like if the Switch is the DS, the Switch 2 is going to be the 3DS, which a lot of that was very seamless. And like, I think your NSO is just going to transfer over to the Switch 2. I think you're right. There's no way in this world that you're not going to be able to play Switch games on your Switch 2. God, I'm praying that that's not the case, right? Because like that would just be so ludicrous.
Nintendo is the weirdest company of all, and they make some of the most boneheaded decisions. But even with that caveat, I cannot possibly fathom the Switch 2 not being backwards compatible.
No,
that just doesn't compute.
No, I think I would be shell shocked. That's not a strong enough word if it was not backwards compatible. So I didn't even put that on my prediction list, but yes, I think that it has to. I think it has to be backwards compatible. Okay, we've thrown out predictions for Samus Returns. We've thrown out predictions for the Switch 2, Metroid Prime 4. What the heck is going on with these Metroid Prime 2 and 3 games in 2024? Are they coming? Are they not coming? Man. Let's definitively throw out a prediction right here.
I mean, we
can look like idiots in 6 months.
I mean, we already did Samus's percentage on it beforehand, and I was the sole person that was a believer, and I will continue to do that for the moment. I think we're going to get a Pikmin 1+2 style port of Prime 2 and 3. I think we'll get the controls, maybe some of those accessibility options. Nothing much more than that, though. Certainly no redone models.
Let me try and fact check you for a second, because hold on, because I think that I remember saying the same thing, like they would come, but they would just be like the GameCube versions. But I thought that you were saying that you thought they would be like remade, like Prime was.
No. Well, so you asked that before, and I clarified, and I said no. We're talking just like at the most it would be like a Wind Waker or Skyward Sword HD at the most, and probably not even that.
You know, like I could be a believer in that. Like I'm certainly not going to say it's impossible. I might not even say it's not likely. I think it's probably just as likely as them not coming at all, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that, I don't know. I think the time to do it was to release Trilogy instead of Prime Remastered. Because, like, my worry would be that, like, Nintendo floods, the Switch with all these Metroid Prime games, and people are like, oh, okay, God, like, we get it. Like, let's just play, Metroid Prime 4 or whatever. Or they could release those games after,
I don't think it would be a flood,
would
though.
Be weird. Well, like,
it would be super weird to release them after. I feel like
that's the only way it wouldn't be a flood, though. Because let's just do a timeline.
Again, I disagree. Like Pikmin 1+2. Like I certainly, I'll tell you right now, I personally wasn't overwhelmed by like, oh no, there's too many Pikmin games now. I can't play. But like, no, I just played Pikmin 4. Okay. Like I feel like you can do something.
Let's do the timeline, okay? So February 2022. Metroid Prime Remastered is out. We're now at January, so let's just go to February 2023. So you have one Metroid Prime game. We said that we think that Metroid Prime 4 is releasing this year, right? Let's just say November to give us a lot of time. I mean, like I don't know. I guess they could release that digital copy.
You think for sure it's releasing this year. I said the launch window. That can expand into 2025. But
okay.
Again, I'm not making any definitive statements. I'm just saying within that launch window.
Yeah, like it depends on when everything, like it depends on when the Switch 2 launches. It so much depends on when that happens. But like, I mean, I guess it would be the worst. Yeah, it would be the worst if these games launched like in the spring, if it didn't launch until November. But then I just kind of feel like by the springtime, surely Switch 2 has been at least announced, right? Maybe it's not out, but it's at least been announced, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like by the time Prime 2 and 3 gets announced, we've already seen Prime 4. We have a release day, and we
right.
By this point, we have like a really good idea of what this game is going to be.
So like, I guess I just kind of feel like maybe flooding was the wrong term, but like
I feel like they'll just kind of just get dropped and be like, hey, just so you know, you can play all the Prime games on Switch now.
Like I feel like they're just kind of sending them out to die a little bit in that regard.
Well, they kind of did the same thing with Pikmin 1+2, but I wouldn't really consider that sending them off to die. It's more so just about having that accessibility. Like, obviously they didn't expect Pikmin 1+2 to be like major system sellers. They're just kind of there so that you have access to the whole library. And I feel like that's going to be the same way to treat Prime 2 and 3. And it makes sense too, because we were just talking about, the Prime Remastered sales, and that's like at what 1.3 right now. Prime 2 and 3 aren't going to sell that much. They're probably not even going to break a million
No
if
way.
I were
Yeah,
to
no
be a
way.
betting man. Yeah. So there's
yeah,
no reason to like put a ton of marketing into that in the first place.
I don't know. I guess I just feel like you had a great opportunity to drop them and didn't, and instead opt. I mean, like I said, like it was. I think it came between either like remake just Metroid Prime 1 or do the whole trilogy. I was always in favor of the whole trilogy. I still am. I love that we got Metroid Prime 1, but I just, yeah, you said it best. These games are in a weird spot right now. So, like, are they coming? Are they not coming? If they come, is it for the Switch? Is it for the Switch? Like, I don't know. It's,
I think
weird.
they'll be cross-compatible with both if they do come.
I hope
But
so.
yeah, it's just very weird. That's the best summary we can muster. It's weird.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, other than that, like any other Metroid predictions heading into the new year? I know that we said we wouldn't talk about it again until there was something real. But I still do wonder if maybe there is like a Metroid show or movie or something in the works. It seems like a property that would be very, very fitting for like a small streaming service, or not a small streaming service, but like a small show, kind of like a Castlevania or something like that, where you can just, maybe quietly put together a really quality project that gets people talking about Metroid. And maybe it's not like really quality releases. Maybe it's that kind of thing that helps kind of level up Metroid a little bit. I don't know. I'm not predicting anything like that, by the way. I'm just saying, I wonder if it could happen.
Definitely not happening, but like I certainly don't think it's impossible. Like we're seeing Nintendo start to branch out more into multimedia efforts.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll always bring this up. There was originally going to be a John Woo directed Metroid movie in 2000, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was announced before the release of the first Metroid Prime. Maybe it was after. I think it was remember.
After. I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I was gonna say because if it was before, then that would be like when the series is like even more niche than it is currently. So
yeah. So yeah, there we go. Metroid into 2024. We kind of talked about. Me and Allison did this, so we have a few minutes here, Doom, and I wonder if you want to do the same thing that Al and I did. We kind of talked about the year. We only talked about 2023, and so I know that we've looked into the future a little bit here to give some predictions and stuff like that. But Al and I just kind of talked about some of our favorite things from 2023, video games. We've kind of already talked about that, but we kind of chatted about like movies, shows, music, anything like that. I don't know, anything like stick out that you want to just shout out that brought you joy in the last year?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about John Wick 4, dude. What
my God.
Amazing movie.
Yeah, dude. I was, so I watched it a couple nights ago, actually, and I was like, last night I was like, I wonder what time I gotta start this in order to see John Wick, like, scorching guys with the flamethrower at midnight, right? Like, that movie was awesome. This is a really good year for movies, actually. You got John Wick 4, Across the Spider-Verse was great, Oppenheimer was great, Barbie was fun. I think
Dungeons and Dragons... Dungeons and Dragons criminally. Oh my God! Everyone has to see it. See it if you haven't. It's on. If you have Amazon Prime, you can stream it there.
I am actually. I've seen it a bunch of times, and I'm waiting for it to get on virtual theater, so that we can cover it. Which I think is going to come sooner rather than later. Definitely sometime next year. But I think my movie of the year was actually Godzilla -1.
I still need to see that, dude. I heard it was so incredible.
This movie kicks ass. It's so awesome. And like, I'm not like a big like Godzilla fan, like monster kaiju fan or anything like that. But this movie was so awesome and so touching and so. Oh my God, it was so awesome. And I wasn't expecting it to be like as good, and it blew me away. And it was a good year for shows too. Like you got Castlevania Nocturne, which I'm a big Castlevania guy, so I love that. The Last of Us. I mean, that had. At least to me, The Last of Us had no business being as fantastic as it was. Which is funny because The Last of Us is like one of the most acclaimed games of all time. But I was just kind of like, well, like what's the point? Because they're doing like a 1-for-1 on the show to the game.
And The Last of Us game is already kind of like a playable movie.
It's as close as a playable movie as you can get in a game, which isn't a knocking games. It's a great game.
Yeah.
But like the show, my God, it was good.
And then, as someone who loves The Boys, Gen V, the spinoff of The Boys, I think it's just as good as the main show. I thought it was great.
I haven't watched it yet, but It looks good.
It is fantastic. We're only halfway through Invincible season 2 right now. We're on hold for the second half, but man, if the second half delivers as much as the first, I think it might top season 1 for me, which was already like really good. So.
Yeah, so lots of cool stuff. You know what? I said this on the Zelda Cast, and I want to say it again on Omega. One of my highlights of this year, and it's gonna sound lame, but like there was some unearthed Linkin Park tracks for the 20-year Meteora anniversary, and like I love Linkin Park. They're my favorite band. I love them. They're incredible, and I was devastated when Chester passed away. To hear this man's voice rocking and screaming and snarling like the days of old, and like just to hear like that classic Meteora sound, because like every album they sound totally different. Well, maybe Meteora and Hybrid Theory are a little bit similar, but like you get the point. To hear that, it was just like, this is so awesome, and it's very moving actually. So like that was like a great moment of this year for me.
That was that's like me with Wayne Static, because I'm a big Static X fan, and they recently did a posthumous album with like some of his unearthed recordings, as well as some new recordings with their new vocalist, and their last release I thought was just like one of their best they've done since like their second album, Machine. And they're about to release a new album with the final recordings that they uncovered, I believe early this year. So I'm very excited to hear that. I actually saw them live back in April with their new vocalist. So
hell yeah,
that was a lot of fun too. Yeah,
I'm ready for a new like vocalist in Linkin Park. It took me a while, but I think I'm ready. I saw a video of I think Mike Shinoda was touring in Germany, and they had this local German artist, and she had like a screaming voice. It was awesome, and she came on and did like A Place for My Head, and it was like so wicked. And yeah, so I'm ready for that. So that was a highlight for me of this year. 2023, the year that was a great year for Metroid. I think it's probably, I'm gonna give it like a B plus. Do you think that's too low?
It's tough because like 2023, and I'm not saying anything new here, but like 2023, amazing year for games, terrible year for the games industry. I think everyone is like pretty much unanimously agreed on that point. And so I think it's hard. I think because of that, for me, at least in terms of gaming, it's hard to give it a letter grade. But I will say, like, I rarely buy new games.
Let's focus in just on Metroid though, like just strictly for Metroid.
Oh, on Metroid,
I'm saying a B plus.
I think I would agree with that. Maybe like a solid B.
Okay.
I think for me, yeah.
Okay.
I think. But I think with the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, that could have easily turned it into an A.
I think that would have been an easy A, if maybe not even more. But that means that, I mean, we got a lot to look forward to in 2024. If we're gonna get not only a Metroid Prime 4 trailer, but potentially the game, we're gonna be eating pretty good. Plus, I mean, I think it's almost guaranteed Zero Mission's coming.
Yeah, and some good Metroidvanias as well. I was telling you in the chat, like, I am super excited for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. That might be my most anticipated game this year. It looks awesome. Wicked.
I can't wait to play that. I don't know that we'll get to it like doing Inspired by Metroid like immediately when it comes out, because I got some games to play, but like we will do an Inspired by Metroid on that game because it looks freaking awesome. I don't know, maybe we'll get Silk Song in 2024. What do you think? Give us your prediction on Silk Song.
Hold up. Which comes out first? Metroid Prime 4 or Silk Song? Let us know in the comments, folks.
Metroid Prime 4 comes out first. I think Metroid Prime 4 comes before Silk Song, which is crazy because as far as I know, development wasn't restarted on Silk Song, but they don't have as big of a team, so I mean, I guess that makes
sense. We've seen at least 2 gameplay trailers for Silk Song, so.
Oh yeah, that's right. I feel like I don't know. I'm not when that game comes out, whenever it comes out, I'll be fine. I'll be there to play it and I'll have a good time. But I know that there's a lot of diehard Hollow Knight fans, so I'm hoping that game also comes out in 2024. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we jam on out of here, Doom?
Yeah. Happy Metroid Prime 2024, folks. Hopefully that statement doesn't age poorly.
It's got to, right? Like, I mean, if we don't see Metroid Prime 4 this year, I don't know. I'll stream like 6 Kirby games in a row or something like that. So that you heard it on camera here, folks. Don't let him back out. That's right. It wouldn't be the first time I lost a bet and had to play a Kirby game, actually. That happened last year with that Switch Kirby game. I had to play a couple hours of that. It wasn't the best experience.
Which one was it? The Forgotten Land? Was it the
new one? Yeah, the
deluxe.
No,
was it the
not
3D or
not that
3D or 2D game?
The 3D game, the Forgotten.
The 3D
one.
game, yeah, Forgotten Land.
Yeah, no good. But it was probably one of the better Kirby games I've ever played. That being said, anyways, okay, well that's gonna do it for us. Thank you for checking us out, and there's a lot of really cool stuff coming into the year 2024 on the Omega Metroid Pod, and it starts next week actually, because what I'd like to start doing a new kind of theme for this year, not a new theme, but like a new idea. We have fan Q&As all the time, and I love those fan Q&As. But one thing that we do over on the Zelda Cast, which I want to steal that idea and bring it over to the Omega Metroid podcast, is we do game specific Q&As, which is really cool because like you kind of dig in really deep and really granular to get in and ask questions and analyze a certain game. And I thought, what better game to bring us into the new year than Metroid Fusion? And I don't know why I picked Metroid Fusion, but I was like, I'm feeling Fusion right now. We just talked about it on the Great Metroid Area Ranking. Something about Fusion, I just want to talk about it. So next week, I'm proposing we're going to do Metroid Fusion Q&A. So if you've got questions about that game, ask us. It could be anything about it, about a remake, about a port, about the game, whatever. Ask us a question about Metroid Fusion, and we'll answer it. And then, of course, we've got, as mentioned, the big crossover episode with the Zelda Cast coming up, which is going to be great. And a lot of cool stuff after that. Alien in Review will return. The manga in review will return sooner than you think, actually, and lots of other cool stuff. That's we've got our classics like Mapping Metroid and Logbook Archive. All that stuff's come back, so it's gonna be awesome. And of course, we're gonna be all over Switch 2 news, Metroid Prime 4 news, all that kind of news. So it's gonna be another great year for the Omega Metroid podcast. So yeah,
I'm very excited. Like I said in the Patreon episode, I got a Google Doc cooking up, so Oh, I just knocked over my mic. You know
when he knocks his mic, it's exciting. All right, well, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us in 2023, and we're hoping that you guys keep it rolling into 2024. You can support us by doing a couple different things. You can check us out over on OmegaMetroid.com. As mentioned, we have walkthroughs and guides and lore and news, and oh my god, there's a lot of stuff there. If you're a Metroid fan, you want to check out OmegaMetroid.com. And you can also check us out over on Patreon. We've plugged the Great Metroid Area Ranking a bunch of times, but not only is that there, but there's a Zelda arm to that. There's a bonus show that my wife and I do, which is a lot of fun. So that's all over on patreon.com/spnet. You can check us out over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod, at Spiteri316, at Doomlacross. Give Dak a follow as well at Daxcity _. Then oh boy, I think we're all on the same handles at Blue Sky, which of course once again is Daxcity _. All right, then really that's it. All you got to do now, you got to let that Metroid fan in your life know where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. We're the only podcast in the world that has a weekly show dedicated to Metroid. So I don't know what that says about us, but we love that you guys love it. Like, subscribe, recommend, rate, review, all of that good stuff. Bring that great energy into the new year, and we'll see you back here next week for Metroid Fusion Q&A. Until then, everybody, take care.